Approximately 12:04. Let's stand, please, with the pledge. Caleb, can you lead us in the pledge, please?
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I'd also like to let everyone know that proper notice has been given as required under the Ohio Revised Code 121.22. So we're going to follow the agenda, and we're going to begin first with the board meeting minutes that were sent to everyone on November the 2nd, and for the meetings on November the 2nd and 3rd. You should have had an opportunity to review those. Do you have any additions or corrections to those minutes that were sent to you?
I'll move approval of the board meeting minutes from the 2nd and 3rd.
I'll second.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Anyone abstaining? That motion carries. Those minutes have been approved. Next on our agenda are ballot remakes, and I'm going to turn that over to you, Sherry Poland, please.
Yes, Krista Criddle in our operations department is ready to present the ballot remakes.
Fantastic, Krista.
Thank you. So the first category are the Iwakava ballots, which again are the uniform overseas civilian ballots that were sent. Those are A3117 through A3126 and A3130 through A3216.
Thank you. And again, those have been reviewed by a bipartisan team.
That's correct.
Any? Go ahead.
I'll move approval of those ballots as remade.
I'll second.
Okay. Any more discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed or abstaining? That motion carries. Those military ballots have been approved.
Thank you. The next category are ballots from those on election day that happened to be in a hospital from and out of county. So we had emailed ballots to the county in which they were hospitalized, and then staff from that county voted those ballots and sent those back to us, but they had to be remade. So that is ballot A3127 through A3129. That's correct.
I'll move approval of those three.
Second.
And those are those individuals who were out of the county.
Out of the county in the hospital.
Right. Okay. Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Anyone abstaining? Those ballot remakes have been approved.
Thank you. The next category, these are orphan second sheet ballots. So when people sent their ballots back, they only returned a second sheet, and it does not scan properly into our voting system. It won't show a ballot. So it won't show that a ballot has been, it'll count the votes, but not the total number of ballots cast. So you have to remake them to include a first sheet of that ballot.
So are you talking, not the ones that you're talking about that individuals returned that was 2 pages?
They only returned 1 page
Okay.
of the 2 page, and they only returned
Okay.
the second page of that ballot.
Okay.
So those are A3217 through A3225.
Ballots as remade.
Second.
Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed or abstaining? That motion carries.
Thank you. The next category are damaged ballots. They were damaged in some way. We couldn't scan them. So those are A3226 through A3238.
Ballots as remade.
Second.
Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposing? Anyone abstaining? That motion carries.
Thank you. The next category are stray marks that were on the ballots in a barcode or a contest box that would preclude it from scanning properly. It could pick those up as a overvote, and the deputy director and director have both reviewed those ballots and indicate those were true stray marks. Those were remade as A3239 through A3242.
I'll move approval of those ballots as remade.
Second.
Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Anyone abstaining? That motion carries.
Thank you. The next ballot, it's one ballot that was a voter intent issue. It was very clear, no, this person, yes, this person. It was reviewed by the director and deputy director. That ballot is A3249.
I'll move approval of ballot A3249 as remade.
Second.
Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Anyone abstaining? That motion carries.
Thank you. We now have, these individuals had received, or they've at least returned a wrong ballot. It did not match what the ballot that they should have been sent. So the ballot they returned was a different precinct. In many cases, if it was in time, we had tried to send them another ballot, but we had not received a return ballot. So what we've done is remade what they did return to us with any participating contest that would have been valid on that ballot. Those were A3243 through A3248.
Move approval of those ballots as remade.
Second.
Any more discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Anyone abstaining? Anyone opposing? That motion carries.
Thank you. The next set of ballots that we have remade are the FWABs. Those are the federal write-in absentee ballots. Those people have requested, and they were overseas military voters that had requested a ballot. We've mailed a ballot to them. And we did not receive back the ballot that we sent to them, but they did fill out a FWAB form and sent that back. So we're able to remake a ballot. It's kind of their backup ballot.
Can you again state what a FLOB is, just for anyone that may be interested in knowing?
Sure, it's called a federal write-in absentee ballot. So it's basically a form that they send back. They had to have requested an absentee ballot through our Iwakava program, and the ones that we've remade are ones that we did not receive back a ballot that we had mailed to them. So because folks are overseas, the mail, there could be problems with mail and so forth, they can fill out what's called the FWAB and send that back, and we can use that in lieu of a ballot, and we would need to remake those. That's so that they still can count their vote, because again, if there's problems with foreign mail, that somehow it maybe something got lost in the mail, this is a backup ballot for them. So these ballots are A3250 through A3286, and also ballot A3304.
I'll move approval of those ballots as remade.
Second.
Any more discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Anyone abstaining? That motion carries.
Thank you. This next category, these are our voters. So with this election, we had a lot of people send in an absentee ballot request very early. They could request them from January on. And with that, as soon as we were able to mail the ballots out on October 6th, we did. After that point, we received a change of address for these voters. So we had already mailed their ballot. They actually have moved in the time frame, still within the registration period, but after we had already mailed a ballot. They've sent that ballot back. And so we did reach out to voters. We did mail them a second ballot. Some of them did send back, the corrected ballot style, but in this case, these remade ballots are ones that we did not receive back a ballot in their new ballot style where they currently live. So we remade the ballots that they had already sent back to us so that they will have a vote counted. So these are A3287 through A3303.
I'll move approval of those ballots as remade.
Second.
Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Anyone abstaining? That motion carries.
Thank you. That's the absentee ballots. We do have unscanned ballots. Election day unscanned ballots that had come in that needed to be remade. We had 7 of those because there was something wrong on the ballot. So these are P1 through P7.
What were those again, Krista? I'm sorry.
They're unscanned. So
Okay.
they were unscanned ballots, but we weren't able to scan them. And they were in the unscanned envelopes from the polling locations. They were true unscanned ballots.
Okay.
A lot of them are curbside,
Got it.
where a lot of the
Okay. Got it.
curbsides were a lot of our unscanned
Sure.
ballots that we had this time. So these are P1 through
Got
P7.
it. I'll move approval then that are we scanning them or not remaking them? Are we remaking them as well?
We remade
We
these
remade them,
ballots.
okay, very
Yes.
good. I'll move that
remade
we,
these ballots.
I'll move that we approve the remakes.
Second.
I have a quick question. Is there any reason why we use a different ID number versus A?
A is for absentee and P is for like at the polls.
Okay. Okay. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed or anyone abstaining? That motion carries.
And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Christy.
Chuck Ecker with our registration department was finalizing the provisional ballot report, so I will go check on that. If we can just pause for a moment.
Okay, now I just have a quick question before you leave. Those votes, not only the ones we just approved, but even the ones that we're about to review, have been, it's been core staff that stood there and actually bipartisan that identified the errors or potential areas, not somebody who's not a core staff. Am I correct?
For the remade ballots that you
Yes.
just, yes, that's correct. That's correct.
Thank you.
Yep. I'll be right back.
Oh, I just have a comment. So when we're looking at those who were rejected, quite a few of those were not registered, or is it not registered, period, or not registered in that particular area?
It's not registered in the state of Ohio.
So do we keep a record of those who are not registered here in the state of Ohio for any type of follow-up?
Well, actually, their provisional envelope serves as a registration form. So although their ballot can't be counted because they were not registered in Ohio timely, that provisional envelope being completed now will register them to vote. Yes. And if there's any that were not completed, then we follow up with a registration form.
Thank you. Seems like with those that's been rejected, there still needs to be some education regarding, number one, making sure you sign the forms, as well as quite a few had no ID. Is that what does it, they didn't fill out the five areas?
They did not provide a form of ID on the envelopes, or one that did not provide one that matched our records.
Are we ready then for a motion on this provisional report? Or is it?
Yes.
Okay. So the way I think we've done this is the accepted category we can do in one motion. I think we have to take an individual motion on the rejected categories for whatever reason. Isn't that right?
That's correct.
So, Madam Chair, I'll move that we accept 11,613 provisional ballots and add those to the official count of the election. So that's my motion on the accepted category.
I'll second.
Any comments or questions? I just have one. Again, I'm always trying to understand these acronyms.
Yes.
APRI, what does that mean?
Yes, that is an exception for those voters who were canceled. Their registration was canceled under the supplemental process in either 2011, 2013, 2015, or 2019. If their registration was canceled per the supplemental process and they appeared to vote and are still living in the same county, so they're still living in Hamilton County, which was the county their registration was canceled from, then we can accept those provisionals and count them.
Okay,
Avery
And-
was a lawsuit, just so you're clear about it. That was a lawsuit. That's the name of the suit.
that was back in what?
Yeah, that requires us to
2008.
do that.
Yeah.
Right, Chair?
Correct.
Yeah, the
That's-
Avery
that's
lawsuit is
correct.
what required us to make these exceptions.
I see. Thank you for that clarification. So we have a motion, has been made, and it's been seconded. Any other discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Anyone abstaining? That motion carries.
On the rejected category, Madam Chair, again, I think, consistent with longtime practice here, I believe we have to take an individual motion on each rejected category. So I'll begin by making a motion that we reject 1,156 ballots of voters who are not registered.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Anyone abstaining? That motion carries.
I have a motion to reject 168 ballots of people who voted in the wrong precinct and the wrong location.
I'll second that motion, but I'd also just want to make a comment. Clearly, that number has gone down dramatically, and I think that's probably attributable to the e-poll books. Is that accurate?
That's correct.
Because we used to have quite a few more of those.
Correct. It used to outnumber the not registered.
Really?
Yeah, the e-poll books don't they even print off where you should go or not?
Correct.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's particularly helpful.
Okay. Any other discussion? The motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Anyone abstaining? That motion carries.
My next motion is that we reject 41 provisional ballots because they lacked a signature.
I'll second, but I also have a quick question. Are our poll workers trained to look at these envelopes before they accept them to see if they can spot any deficiencies? Or do they just take them in and
That is part of it, yes.
so if they see something, they're telling the voter, you need to sign this or you need to do that?
Correct, and it's the areas on the envelope that are required are highlighted in yellow.
Right.
We make every attempt to have them completed as they should be.
Okay. Second.
Okay. Any more discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Anyone abstaining? That motion carries.
My next motion is that we reject 72 provisional ballots for failing to properly, to have a proper ID on the envelope.
Second.
And again, no ID means one of those areas was missed.
Correct, the voter did not supply ID on the envelope, or if they did supply ID, it did not match what we have on file. It does have to match. And then the voter also had the opportunity to appear at the board for 7 days after Election Day to provide ID. Many voters did, but not these 72 voters.
So when you're saying that, then we notified those individuals to the best of our ability.
They're given a hotline form. It's a yellow paper that's prescribed by the Secretary of State that lets the voter know how they can cure, how they can provide ID, what they need to do. Yes.
Okay. All right. All those in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Anyone abstaining? That motion carries.
Next category, signature mismatch. I'll move that we reject those 14 ballots based on the signature mismatch.
Second.
Any more discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Anyone abstaining? Anyone objecting? That motion carries.
Next category, provisional envelopes that have no ballots in them, so that's always interesting to me to make a motion to reject ballots that weren't in the envelopes, but nevertheless, we need to approve them. So it appears there were 18 ballots opened by our bipartisan staff here without ballots inside, so I'll move that we reject those 18 provisional envelopes and not count anything.
Second.
Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposing? Anyone abstaining? That motion carries.
Next is a motion to reject 129 people that voted absentee already. So these people already apparently cast a ballot but attempted to vote, or choosing my words carefully, they voted provisionally. 129 people did that. So I'll move that we reject those 129, those people who had already voted absentee.
I'll second. Just a comment that frankly, I'm a little surprised the number is that low, given
Same.
given what went on this year, but
Okay. Any other comments?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
we're going to look into these 129 as we typically do, correct?
That's correct,
Okay,
yes.
thank you.
As soon as certification is over, and we'll be ready for your first board meeting in December.
Thank you.
That's a good point. Thanks. Okay, all those in favor?
All right.
aye.
Anyone opposing or abstaining? That motion carries.
Next is one ballot that had no printed name on the provisional envelope. I'll move we reject it.
I'll second that and comment again. This number is much lower than we've seen in the past.
Caleb, when you talk about these numbers are much lower for some of these categories, it would be interesting, and I can look at it later, just when we started noticing a dip or a drop in these categories.
Well, the category of what we used to term right church, wrong pew, meaning, rather, people who went to the wrong polling place and cast a provisional ballot. We used to get a lot more of those than we have now. I think, as I said, that's attributable to the use of the poll books, which allows poll workers to quickly tell the voter where they're supposed to be, as opposed to where they are. That was more difficult when we were using the paper books as we did years ago. This particular one, it was always been a little bit of a subject of complaint, the no printed name issue, because I personally have always felt like that was a little unnecessary as a reason to disqualify a provisional ballot. We've often seen quite a few more of those than we have here. I'm not quite sure why the number is low, but I'm glad to see that it is. I can't attribute that to any particular thing.
Okay, all right. Thank you. Next.
Do we vote on that one? Yeah.
Oh, excuse me. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Anyone abstaining? That motion carries.
Next category is 9 people who voted twice in precinct. I'll move that we reject those 9 provisional ballot envelopes.
I'll second. I'm just curious a little bit how that happened.
This would be most commonly a voter who voted in their old precinct and then moved and then voted provisionally in a new precinct,
I
I
see.
think is the most common reason. We will again, after we certify, we will investigate all of these and report back to the board at your first meeting in December.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Any more comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Anyone abstaining? That motion carries.
I'll make a motion that we reject 1 provisional ballot envelope that had an invalid address.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Anyone abstaining? That motion carries.
Next motion I have is to reject 31 provisional ballots where there's no date of birth.
Second.
Any comments or discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Anyone abstaining? That motion carries.
Final motion here will be a motion to reject 74 ballots where the provisional ballot envelope did not have an address.
I'll second.
That's interesting. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone abstaining? Anyone objecting? That motion carries. Thank you. Oh, we've got another category.
The ones that are further review,
Yes, so 16, there's 18 total in further review for the board. 16 of those have to do with the month and date of birth of the voter not matching what's on file. So there is a month and date and year, date of birth placed on the envelope. It doesn't match what's on file with the board. The deputy director and I reviewed all of those, and all the other information on the envelope does match the board's records. And under direction from the Secretary of State, the board can vote in public session to count those 16. So they otherwise are eligible to be counted. The only problem was that the month and date of birth did not match our files.
so there's 16 that fit that category?
16 that fit
I'll
that
make a motion
category.
based on the director and deputy's review. I'll make a motion that we count those 16 ballots.
I'll second.
16, not 18.
Right, there's two others
Okay.
that are a different situation.
Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Anyone abstaining? Anyone opposed? That motion carries.
Okay, the other two provisional envelopes were cast by the same voter. So we have two completed provisional envelopes that were cast at the same precinct, same polling location. According to the electronic poll book, they were processed just minutes apart. We're not sure why this happened. There were no notes from the poll workers. I think our thought is most likely one was voided or soiled and defaced, but not indicated on the envelope. So we wanted to present these to the board for instruction on which provisional envelope should be counted.
So we have two.
If they were soiled, if one of them was soiled or defaced, we can't tell which one it is without opening it, right?
Oral one, or then you can go back to the poll worker and ask to have another one because it's based on what you just did. Am I correct?
That's correct. Our problem with this is there's no indication on the envelope, because we have seen that, and we saw it in this election, where the provisional envelope would be voided because of a mistake made. In this particular instance, there's no note, or there's nothing documenting which one was voided.
And we have no way within our records to know which one was cast first, temporally speaking, right?
We do not.
It appeared that the gentleman checked in with a regular check-in, and we think that he was given a ballot at that point in time along with the envelope, went over to the vat and started all over again. So our guess is they did void one of them.
And, yeah, so when and if we open them, the mystery is likely to be solved. but
Uh-huh.
You need board approval before you open them, right?
Correct.
And what if we open them and neither one of them has been voided?
We'll report to you on Wednesday.
All right.
There's a provisional number that we assign. It's not assigned at the polling place. That P number is assigned as the bipartisan teams review the envelopes. So we could go with the lowest number, provisional envelope, which means it was the envelope that our bipartisan teams processed first. And then if you vote to do that, then we could come back and report to you what the result of that was on Wednesday.
And if we do that, then we're only gonna open one at this point.
Correct.
I personally think we ought to open them both, see if one of them is voided. Then if that's the case, we would count the other one. If they're both, neither one of them has been voided, then I don't know, we flip a coin, I guess. I don't know, but,
The suggestion that I made this morning, when we talked about this, was to open the lowest number first, and if that ballot can be counted, if it's not voided
right.
and can be counted for any race, you count that ballot, and you don't need to open the other one.
Oh,
That makes sense.
that makes sense.
If it is voided, then you open the other one and count it if you can. I mean, there's a possibility both of them are voided,
It's true.
but I think that's what you do, because you have no way of telling which ballot came in first. Open the lowest number first and
Makes
see-
sense.
and see what's there.
That makes sense.
Okay.
With that then, with that recommendation of council, and it sounds like staff doesn't object to that course of action either. Ultimately, the board decision, I'll move that we open the one that's, I guess it's
Lowest number.
P9555 is the number that I'm showing. The other one's P93.
9373?
9373 would be the
9373.
lowest.
I saw 9873, sorry. 9373 would be the lower number. So I'll move that we open P9373 and accept that at this juncture. That's my motion.
I'll second.
Any more discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Anyone abstaining? Anyone opposed? That motion carries, that we will do the lowest number, open the lowest number first. Thank you.
I believe that concludes the provisional staff summary report.
Who takes these?
Now,
Chuck, do you want to, this is our other two. Thank you.
I do have a
Thank you very much.
question. What we're not dealing with here is, with the exception possibly of the remakes that we went through, we're not dealing with absentee ballots that arrived after Election Day but were properly postmarked. Is that correct?
That's correct. There's no reason for the board to vote on those.
Pardon?
That's not part of the procedure for the board to vote on those.
I'm just
So-
curious how many of those we have.
We had approximately 1,000 ballots that came in after Election Day that were postmarked timely, and that also includes 11 S's. So that would be ballots that perhaps arrived prior to Election Day, but the envelope was insufficient, and we sent notice to the voter, and then the voter
Cured.
responded back and cured. Yeah, we had even 20 came in on the very last day, on Friday.
And just out of curiosity, did we have any absentees that arrived with the proper postmark, but after the deadline? It's probably a little early to know, because that would have been Friday.
Correct.
We may not have seen any mail delivery today, I don't know.
I haven't seen today's mail delivery. Krista, did?
That were properly postmarked?
Were,
Okay, I was just. Okay, I'm just curious about that, because there was certainly a lot of discussion about that subject as to whether or not that was going to occur this year or not. Didn't happen in the primary, but just a matter of curiosity.
So when we received those, like, for example, on Saturday, did we look at the date? So you looked at the date that they were postmarked?
correct. We look at the date that they were postmarked. Well, on Saturday, it's too late. It doesn't matter what the postmark is. We had to receive them on or before Friday, November 13th.
But it's still interesting, I would think, to look at the date that they were actually postmarked and try to determine.
Yes, and
How that
actually,
happened.
sure, and the Secretary of State is requiring, as part of the reports that are due Wednesday afternoon, for us to also provide those type of numbers, what came in after the 10th day, if anything came in without a postmark. So we'll have those numbers for you Wednesday afternoon at your noon meeting.
That's going to be interesting. Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing that. And then look at what we do henceforth and forevermore to make sure that doesn't happen.
And we had a relatively very small number of ballots that did not have a postmark on them.
Really?
Yes, I think it was 5.
That came in again after Election Day.
Mm-hmm.
Right. How many came in prior to Election Day with no postmark?
We don't track that since, as long as it's here, it can be
Doesn't matter.
counted.
Yeah, I'm just curious.
Interesting. Okay. Any other discussion? Again, I just want to continue to personally thank all of you all, our staff, for doing a magnificent job after Election Day, even before Election Day, but after as well, because I know that you've been here. This has been like your second home. Some have been here on their birth date, and were challenged with a lot of challenges at that particular time, but we persevered. And so I just want to thank every one of you all and all the staff that have been coming and continuing to come to help us get to where we are today.
I'll second that motion.
Thank you.
I'll move adjournment.
Second that, too.
Okay, any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Anyone abstaining? That motion carries. This meeting is formally adjourned.